Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back. I want to apologize for the sound on these videos. I didn't have my microphone here at school. I had a big karaoke party and I had my microphone at home and I forgot to bring it in. Um, yeah, that was a joke. I would suck at karaoke. Hopefully you got all these answers here, people. And the justifications are just those 5 properties of parallelogram. So the first one, angle ICE is 70 degrees. That's this entire angle over here, ICE. If that's 70, ENI, of course, would also be 70. Maybe that's obvious. Hopefully that's obvious. And the reason for that is because, as you all know now, opposite angles of a parallelogram are congruent. They're equal. The trap people fall into in the second one, if ICE is 64 now, they would write NIC. Oh, it's 64. No, think about that. Where is NIC? It's this angle up here. And of course, NIC is this whole thing, and this whole thing. Those are same-side interiors or consecutive interiors. So they add up to 180, so that one should be 116. Because consecutive angles of a parallelogram are supplements. Third one on here, hopefully is an easy one. IC, this side is 8. Of course, you know NE is also 8. And the reason on that is pretty obvious. Opposite sides of a parallelogram are congruent. I think my justifications will come up here in a minute. The fourth one, if IN is 3x, this is 3x, and EC is x plus 6, oh, they're going to be equal to each other, so you set them equal, subtract, divide, and solve, hopefully get x equals 3, which means that these are both 9. And of course the reason for that, again, is the opposite sides, IN and CE, are congruent. Opposite sides of a parallelogram are congruent. The fifth one, if INE, angle INE, this angle here, and of course the angle symbol is on there, angle INE, and angle NEC, this angle here, are 150. Don't set those equal to each other. Don't tell me why it's 50 degrees, because they're not equal. They're supplementary. They add up to 180, which means that Y has to be 10 degrees. So don't just set those equal. Realize that those two angles add up to 180. You know, just write an equation. If this is 150, this would have to equal 30, which makes sense. 10 times 3 is 30. And the last one on there, if NM is 13, that means NC is double that, because this is 13 and this is 13, which means NC is 26. And the reason for that is that last one that we just proved, that the diagonals bisect each other. In other words, IE is cutting NC in half, which means 13 and 13 on there. So there's my reasons, and that's how you write them. Opposite angles are congruent, or opposite angles of a parallelogram are congruent. This next one says consecutive angles are supplementary. Opposite sides of a parallelogram are congruent. I've left the parallelogram symbols out of here so they fit on the screen here, but I can certainly put opposite sides of a parallelogram are congruent. The fourth one, we had opposite sides congruent again. I had the consecutive angles one again on here. That's usually the one people miss the most, except for maybe the diagonals one. Diagonals bisecting each other was how you set up that equation or that conclusion on there. So these are your properties of parallelograms. We're going to use these for the next couple days. The last one I have on your paper is a tricky one. This is not a, basic level question. You got to think about these a little bit more. You got to use some algebra skills on these a little more. So give you a minute. Definitely write down your reason on here when you set up your equations. Include a reason in your first step so you have that practice. And the rest of it is just turn and burn algebra. Can you get through it? I'm going to just sit, maybe pause it, think about it. You got to certainly sketch a couple things over here. Sketch the diagonals and label the parts. This is the length of this part of the diagonal. That's the length of that part of the diagonal. This piece is 8 minus b. This piece is a plus 4. And of course, these are the sides of parallelograms. And it is given that they're parallelograms. Justin Goodwin, make sure you read the directions. So here's the most common mistake. People see an x here, and they see an x here, and they just say, I'm going to set these guys equal to each other because that's what I like to do. And they see a y, and they see a y, and they set these equal to each other, and they say, that's what I'm going to do. That's not true. These are not necessarily rhombuses. It's a parallelogram. So in a parallelogram, you can set these two equal to each other. That would make sense because you know that opposite sides of a parallelogram are congruent. There's a little congruent symbol if you can't see it on there. So there's my reason for it. 2x minus 6 is equal to y plus 7. And then you look at that and go, oh no. That doesn't allow me to solve because I got two different variables. But I could set up another set of equations. 34 minus x is equal to 2y. Hopefully you throw that equation in there. Should have rehearsed this. Sorry, guys. That's going to be my second equation. Before I get to that second equation, it looks like on the screen here I'm going to isolate y. I look at this equation and wait, it's going to be a system of equations. I could probably do substitution on here by subtracting the 7 over, which is where that came from. Just subtracted the 7 over, I got negative 13 over here. So now my second equation would be 34 minus x equal to 2y. Most of you are pretty savvy with your equations. You could just take this garbage right here and plug it in for y, and then just double it, and then set it equal, which is what I'm going to show on the screen here. I'm going to have 34 minus x equal to 2 times 2x and times 13. So this is really going to be 4x minus 26. So there's my opposite side, set equal to the other opposite side, but I've already done the substitution. I've already replaced the y with 2x minus 13, and like I said, this would be 4x minus 26. And from there you can solve. Pretty simple. So add the x over here, add the 26 to the other side, and you get 60 is equal to 5x, and x is equal to 12. If you were able to do that on your own, well done. You're going to have to be able to do that on the test, the quiz, whatever else comes up here, as well as the homework tonight. Set up and solve a system of equations. That's one variable. Of course, the easiest place to plug in, I would vote probably right here. 34 minus 12 is 22. 22 is equal to 2y, which means y has to be 11. And you could check it here as well. 12 times 2 is 24. 24 minus 6 is 18. If this is 18, 11 plus 7 gets me 18 down there. So the other one is very similar in terms of being a system. Because I'm running out of time here, I'm about to lose this whole thing. Hopefully you can set these two equal to each other, because diagonals bisect each other, and you can set these two equal to each other. Try it on your own. I'm going to show you the solution. Maybe resist the hesitation to copy it down. I'll show you a solution here, but I'm about to lose this video. If I go beyond 7 minutes, I usually lose the video and have to start all over again. So here it is. Try it on your own. Hopefully you agree with my answers at the end. And good luck on your homework, by the way. Give it a try in class, get it started, get it done.